The next thing I want to say is, I want to address is, why was Occupy asked to speak? Okay. Occupy Newark is Tobias, and he has texted me that he's on his way. We're very happy to hear from him. They moved everyone out of Occupy Newark. They're not there anymore. Elliot, maybe you can bring us up to speed on that.
Well, as far as Occupy goes, I've not only been active with Occupy Newark, but also with New Brunswick and Trenton and Princeton as well. And
tell me, can you come up here and speak, just so that you can be heard by the stream? We asked Occupy to speak because they're sort of, they're like-minded, you know? It's true that they don't have a defined set of goals, but they certainly want economic justice. That's what they're looking for. So we invited Occupy Newark and Occupy Trenton. Why don't you give a little report about both of them?
Not only Occupy Newark and Trenton, but also Princeton and New Brunswick as well. And I've also been somewhat active with Occupy Wall Street in Philly. And I can say from my experience in going to all 6 of these and a couple of more in Fort Lauderdale and Orlando and a couple of other ones, Occupy Congress as well, I can sense right now people are already beginning to ask the question about, you know, what are we doing here in this system, or why is it this way, you know, why can't we change or something like that. And it's critical, I think, for all of us here as individuals, as a movement, to get ourselves out there to engage with the broader community that's asking these questions already. I've met tons of people that have already, you know, were somewhat on their way to, like, you know, getting their ideas out there or whatever about what they thought was going on or whatever, but, you know, if we could try to get more people, like, introduced to these ideas, you know, not just by doing that, but, you know, through these town halls, through canvassing, and through a lot of other tactics that have been used by other movements in the past, such as ESWA's tactics of canvassing or whatever. We might have somebody coming up from ESWA from New Brunswick also, but, you know, it's critical that we get out to the Occupy movement and to other like-minded movements, so that way we could really, hey, how you been? Right. This is Mike from ESWA New Brunswick. So anyway, I was getting into why we got to really outreach to the Occupy movement and, you know, some of our goals here. I don't think, you know, personally, from my experience, there's so many like-minded out there that are just coming out of the woodwork, more or less, and it's critical that we really get to them at this point. You know, that's how the critical mass is building up right now, and again, that's about all I got to say. You know, any other updates or whatever? Also, aside from Newark getting evicted, Trenton is almost on the verge of getting there. They're trying to change the rules around for some of the, you know, what should we call it, for the Veterans Memorial Park at this point. So far, I don't have any regular full updates on there, on that front, but, you know, this is showing how the system doesn't want any systemic change, how it's reluctant to really, you know, acknowledge that there are serious problems that have to be addressed, because that's part of the reason why it exists, because it uses money and because of these inequalities that are not going to get thoroughly addressed enough through, you know, the basic means and regular means that we know today. I think it's going to be through a big, you know, movement like what's going on with Occupy at this point. And, you know, that's all I got to say. Is there anything else anybody wanted to bring up here or whatever, questions or?
I sort of feel like we missed an opportunity with Occupy, because they're not on Wall Street anymore like they were. You know, that's the time to engage them, when it's a big mass movement. Like here you can see in some of the Occupy Trenton pictures, there's times in which it was very active. Here, maybe have a seat for one moment, okay. Elliot. Yeah. Like up here, there's a time in which people were rallying, you know, and this is, what's the name of the park?
Veterans Memorial Park.
Veterans
I've watched
Memorial.
this a number of times, and this one, I think, I've been to a couple of these big protests that you see out here. Mm-hmm. That one, I think, was when we went to go against fracking, when they tried to frack the Delaware. I was there. It's critical that we get to these massive. May 1st, they're doing a general strike all over the place. March 14th, we're going to be having a meeting discussing a lot of this stuff. If anybody wants to come down, great. We're going to be talking about police brutality and the whole 9 yards, the prison industrial complex. This would be a great opportunity to address why they're the way they are, why we have people that are living in horrible conditions on Stuyvesant Ave, and even the guy that got kicked out of his home in New Brunswick. You know, why is it that, you know, we're doing all this stuff? So I don't think we've missed that opportunity per se, but they're just kind of like, they're doing GA still. I mean, Trenton's every 9 to 4, every night, every day. They're still doing their stuff, but like you said, it's critical that we get out to these movements and out to the people to engage with. So.
Now, if you go to an Occupy and you want to speak about Zeitgeist and spread the word, I really think the best way to do it is not to begin preaching about it, you know, on your soapbox. I think really what you got to do is tell them about the movies. Now, I made a little flyer to give out today to all the new faces, right? And on this flyer it says, to learn more, YouTube Zeitgeist Addendum, YouTube Zeitgeist moving forward. You don't even need to give them a URL. They just go to YouTube. And the reason I put down the global website and our New Jersey website was just because the page looked blank. It's really about telling them to see the movies. Once they see the movies, they would discover Zeitgeist.com. If they live in New Jersey, they'll find the chapters link, you know. It's perfectly fine to tell them about it, but it's so easy. It'll just give them a little card that says YouTube Zeitgeist Addendum, YouTube Zeitgeist moving forward. Then they do it on their own if they're not occupying, right? They have to go home.
Exactly.
Poor Occupy Newark. Look how it's dwindling down.
They got evicted on what was it? February the 16th, I think. The day that I got back from Florida, they got evicted. So
Tobias told me about a YouTube video with the mayor. Cory Booker went down there, and I watched this clip. And it was sort of like him, you know, you're just being a fly on the wall, him talking to the Occupy people. And he was saying that first of all, I like Cory Booker. I mean, he's just more of today's politics. You know what I mean? He was talking about the power. They were using the power, and it wasn't fair because they weren't paying for the power. They sort of just tapped into the lines that were there. It just seems like such a tiny little minor concern. How much power are they drawing? You know, I don't want to say it's pennies. I don't really know what it is, but some corporate fat cat said, look, they're taking our power, and I don't know. It's just more of the same, I feel.
You're seeing this not just in Newark, but Trenton's about to get hit with the same thing, and Atlantic City also. They were getting slammed left and right from all the casinos were basically blocking off roadways and lots and stuff, and this just shows you how much of a conscience the system doesn't really have at this point.
Now, we feel that Occupy is like-minded, that they're friends, and the reason is that a resource-based economy is their solution too. They might not know it because it's all about money. You can fight all of these battles and for women's reproductive rights, for the Native American, for
the prison industrial
getting rid of landmines in some Serbia, Bosnia, right? There's all these individual tiny little causes, but if there was a resource-based economy, it wouldn't be relevant. None of those